wondering what would happen if the trumpet sound and the Bible said that when he is ready, he is going to call. And some of us get caught in a place and doing something we're not supposed to be because we ain't supposed to be there and we're supposed to be someplace else. Be careful when God is not number one in your life. And to be honest with you, it's a lot of us God is not number one in our life. Let's be realistic. He is not. We'll say, I can do this, I got time to do this, I got time to do this. But God, I'll get to you, God. I know I didn't pray this week, but I'll get to you. You know, you'll get down, you'll get in your car. Something happened. And I got into the car. And the strange thing happened. The car started doing some crazy stuff. And then I get out the car, and then I get back in the car, and I try to start the car, and the car won't start. And I'm saying, wait a minute. I just purchased this brand new battery 2 days ago. It's a brand new battery. And I'm wondering, what's up with this? And I turned it again, and it didn't start. And I said, look, in Jesus' name, this is a brand new battery. I turned it, it started. You can't count on anything in this world. Everything in this world will fail you. The only thing in this world will not fail you is God, and we give him less and less and less and less on a daily basis. Did you hear me? The only thing that's going to protect our children is God being in their life. That when they're not with us, we can put a prayer around them and put a shield of protection around them. That's all that works. Did you hear me? Because you can't be in but one place at a time. I know we had stuff today, the singing and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes we need to change direction. So I pray, I'm almost done. I pray you just put up with me just a minute. If we do not change our attitude and we keep picking up the spirit of America, we're going to lose. If you're a mother and you truly look at what's happening to all the young kids that's getting locked up in jail, and you do not get in church and say, God, I'm standing in the gap for my kids. I'm going to be there praying for them. I'm going to serve you because I'm not letting the devil come after them. And I'm going to stand in between the devil, between adultery, between fornication, between drugs, between alcohol. I'm going to stand in front of them right now and go for you, Father. If we don't stand for our children, they're going to lose. Because the devil is out here quicker and harder than he's ever been before. It wasn't like when you grew up. It's harder than it was when you grew up. We need prayer warriors in the church. Prayer warriors in the church. We had prayer Monday, and we had a powerful prayer Monday, but I really don't think people really understand if you're not praying for your children, who is? Did you hear me? I'm saying this to tell you this today. This is not a planned service. And I don't know how I even got up here today like this. I had no plan on doing it. I was supposed to come up here and I was supposed to say something. I forgot. And the thing about it is, we better get real. The devil is throwing out everything. He's breaking up homes, breaking up marriages. If can I be honest with you? I've been with my wife for 45 years. That's a miracle in my family. Maybe not yours, but there's nobody that I know in my family that's been with their wife as long as I've been with mine. In my entire family. My father left my mother when I was 2. My brother didn't know who he was. My sister didn't know who. I got sisters that don't even know who their fathers is. So I know what it's like. And now, if we don't stop this circle and start having family time with your children, start sitting down and praying with your children, don't let your children go to bed without you going in there praying with them and over them. And let me tell you something. If you don't bring them to church when they get older, they're not coming. They're not coming. If they don't see God important in your life, they will not make God important in their life. And we do not realize. The other day I saw this statistic. Tears came in my eyes. Of all the young kids that are in jail and going to jail, it's scary. Some of them get pulled in jail, and they get pulled by friends that came out of homes that is so messed up that they pulled them because they showed them love, because we have stopped loving kids in our home. You don't do things together no more. Most of us don't even eat together with our children anymore. You don't sit down and eat with them. We better change it. You better sit down and eat with them. You better find out what's going on in school, because they're getting pulled and pulled and pulled away from the family. And if the church do not come back and become a family atmosphere, we're going to lose. We're supposed to be a family. That's why in the church, there's something wrong if you can sit on this side and not like somebody on that side, and you're in the house of God. Something wrong somewhere. Did you hear me? And when we don't talk to each other, when we don't say each other hello to each other. And let me tell you one of the other biggest problems in the church. Some of you, wherever you sitting at, that's where you sit at when you leave, and you never get around to understand God don't make mistakes. If we're all here, he means us to be able to have a part in somebody's life other than our own. And if I'm trying to be a Christian, I need a good friend of mine in my life that's trying to be a Christian. And this is another thing. If I was a woman, I'm going to make sure that I got other women in my life in the church that we're going to start praying for each other's children. For the Bible said God hears the prayers of the righteous. I'm going to make sure I get with somebody else. You pray for my children. I'm going to pray for your children. You pray for my family. I'm going to pray for your family. You pray for my wife. And let me tell you another thing. The other good thing is, if I was a married woman, yes, I can still have another, and I'm going to say to a single sister, look, I want you to be friends. Pray for my marriage, because when you get ready to get, you're going to get just what you're praying for in mine. When it's your time, you're going to get it. We don't even do that in church anymore. We come to church, and as soon as church is over, the little 2 hours, we normally leaving in a few minutes, we gone. You won't do that on a job. On a job, we used to have Christmas banquets and little different things that we had, and we came on a job, we went around and talked to people on the job, and you'll do that. But in the church, we have taken the church and ostracized it and made it something that I only go once a week or once a month or once every 2 weeks. Be careful when the God that created you gets less than the world, gets more than the world. Be careful. For what you put most of your time, your mind, and your life in is what you will become. We need to pray for one another like we've never prayed for one another before. We need to pray for one another's families, marriages, like never before. You don't believe me? Go on the internet and put up on marriages. You will see marriages is failing like crazy. Like crazy. If marriages are keep failing like never before, what you think will happen to the family? There won't be no family. And then our boys growing up without a father, like I did. It's just a miracle that I'm in church. I never had a father figure in my entire life. In my entire life. And the first guy that was supposedly acting like a father figure to me, I was running numbers for him. Writing numbers. Back then it was illegal. I think it's still illegal. I don't know. That's what I did for somebody who was a father, supposedly a father figure to me. And then after that, selling drugs and stuff like that. I'm saying this to say this with all my heart and with all my soul. If we don't change, if we do not bring God into our life, we're gonna be in trouble. And if God don't start getting more of your life, there was an individual about a year ago, and they were on a job, and they got sick on the job, and they fell out in the job, and the job called the ambulance, and the individual went to the hospital, and so they got to the hospital, and they was doing tests on her. They don't really know why she fell out or anything like that, and so the job said to her, the only way you can come back into this job in this situation is we need to know what the doctor said about what it was that happened, and why that happened, because she was in a position where she was leading people, and when she fell out on the job, all the people that she was leading around her was influenced. So the job told her that we had to know what the problem was and what needed to be done about the problem, because she can't be around that many people again and fall out. So the first week, they didn't find out what was wrong, and so she was ready to go back to work because she felt, well, I got to go back to work. But the doctor said, we still don't know why you fell out like that, and why it took so long to revive you. So after they didn't find out why she fell out, another week went by, and so she went back to the job, and she said, well, they're still working on it, but they told me, that don't worry about it. They said, well, you have to bring this thing into the job to show that they said it's okay for you to come back to work, and that they really now know why this happened, and that the chances of this happening again is not good. She went to the doctors to try to get the doctors to sign this slip, and the doctor said, how are we going to sign that slip and we don't even know what the problem is? We can't. And the doctor refused to sign the slip, so here she is going back and back and forth, and she got irritated to the place where she couldn't work. They couldn't find out what she wanted to happen to her, and she started really going off on everybody. What's going on here? Why can't I come back to work? I'm not like, this is not the same thing happening before. And she went to the doctor and said, I need you to do me a favor. Doctor said, what is it? Been her doctor for a while. She said, I can't go back to work unless you sign this. And she said, now it's been 3 weeks. I haven't had this problem again. And he said, but we don't know where it came from. We don't know what it was. And you was in a short coma where nobody really knew what was going on, and we had to do something to bring you out. We don't know why. So if we put you back in there without finding out the situation, we're going to be in trouble. So she couldn't go back. She couldn't go back. And the job went on for months. They gave her a little salary while she was trying to find the difference, but this job would not let her back on the job. And so she got to the place where she now had to get help, because psychologically now it was messing with her mind. So now she has to have 2 doctors, and so she went there. Listen to me. You could get in a situation in this world where only God can deliver you, can heal you, can restore you, and that can open up doors that nobody else can open up. She was sitting there, and she had a good friend that was in church, and the good friend hadn't seen her in a long time and had called her up and said, girl, called her name, how you doing? She said, I'm not doing good. I got my bills, I got my children, and they kicked me out to work. And she said, well, how about you come over and let me come over and visit you? Yeah, come on. She came over, and here this woman had been in her church a long time, was filled with the power of God in her life, had raised children in there, and she went in there, and she said, I want to tell you that God bless me and God will bless you. Well, how God gonna bless me? She said, how about you do this? Uh, you come to church with me this week, and I believe that, God, whatever you need, God will. I can't just believe that. She said, well, what you got to lose? She said, nothing. She ended up going to church with her, and that night, she wasn't one. The lady that she came with wasn't one of the ladies that sit all the way in the back of the church, and she probably was up somewhere near the front of the church, and she was sitting there, and she said, the friend came in and it was sitting there, and all of a sudden, the power of God just moved through the place. People was worshiping, praising God, and all of a sudden, the woman, nobody had ever told the woman about speaking in tongues. Nobody had ever told the woman about the Holy Ghost. But she got in the spirit and the power of God, and she sat there. And all of a sudden, the power of God moved, and without her knowing it. And she was the only one that had done it at that day, and just stood up, and she just began to wave her hands and begin to thank Jesus, and all of a sudden got filled with the gift of the Holy Ghost without anybody telling her about it, without anybody knowing. But see, if you're in the right place at the right time, God will always meet you there. So she got the presence of God and the power of the Holy Ghost in her, and then she started going to church, and then she started going to church and living for the Lord. And she said that she got to the place where she started living for God, and maybe 2 or 3 weeks had went by, and she said she went to the altar and she said, Lord, I trust you, I love you, and if you're ready for me to go back to work, Lord, open up the doors so that I'll be able to go back to my job. She went to the altar that day, prayed, and about 3 or 4 days later, she got a call from the doctor and said, we just found out what happened to you. And it was something that you had eaten, that you have put in your body, that your body doesn't reflect to. It goes against your body. And we saw it in there. And so from now on, you have to make sure you don't eat this stuff again. And you're going to be fine. She called up the job. They sent the information to her. She went back to the job. But now she goes back to the job. She went back to the job as a Christian. Different. She's now back in the job, and here she doing for the job. After 6 months back on the job, she got a promotion. Because what she was doing now, she was sharper than ever before, and they started believing on her. And what I am saying to you is that there's somebody in here right now, you at a level where you won't go any higher until you make God number one in your life. Because only he can open up doors that nobody can open. And you and I got to stop giving the world more of our life than the God that gave you life. Because one day, you may need him to open up a door. I don't know who you are today, but look in your life and be realistic and ask yourself, I say I believe in God. I sometimes act like I believe in God. But if I truly believe in God, would it be part-time or full-time? A part-time job don't pay what a full-time job pay. Part-time Christians are not supported like a full-time Christian is. Not protected like a full-time Christian is. I'm not really sure what God is wanting to do here this morning, but I really want to leave you with this. If you truly, truly, truly cannot see you're living in the last days, you are deceived. We are truly in the last days. Rumors of wars like never before. Everywhere. Everywhere. You look at all the different things that's happening around the world and now that are happening. Listen to me very carefully as I close. The other day I was seeing this where this was on the news this week, where this guy went into this daycare and was killing and shooting 3 people. 1 cop got killed. They don't know what's going on. When you remove God out of America, she is becoming violent. America's in big trouble because we took God out. And God is the God of peace, the God of love, the God of harmony. You see, when you remove that out, you open the door, and now it's the God of fornication, of adultery, of accusations, of murder, and of broken homes and broken families. And children that are now growing up, and now most of your children are going to school with children of broken homes, of where they live in homes where parents now do things that are unrighteous, like smoking marijuana, getting high with different things. And now they're growing up in homes like that, and you don't even know your children are going to school. So if you do not put your children in a different environment with God, and all they're being influenced is with what they get in school, they're in big trouble. I want to challenge you. Make a change. I'm not really sure what's going to happen to America, but if America don't come back to God, we in big trouble. We in big trouble. We in big trouble. We are in really, really big trouble. If the church don't stop being unchurched and be a church that's focused on God. When the church is not focused on God, it's not a church. Let me tell you this, and I'm closing. When we walk and drive up on these facilities and walk through the doors, this should be a awe, a holiness in each individual walking in, that I'm coming in here and God is going to speak to me, touch me, prepare me. If you don't walk up here like that, what'll happen is we'll walk up here and if you see a lot of junk going on outside the church, something's wrong. This is supposed to be holy ground. People don't come to church anymore seeking. You got to come to church seeking, Lord, where am I? Where am I, Lord? Where do I need to be, and where am I? Where am I when it comes to my children, God? Where am I? You know, the main objective in life is if I'm going to be his father, and I know that he's got to go to school, I want to make sure that when I put my hands on him, Lord, touch my child, protect him. And then I send him out to school that day, and he's got to get on a school bus or wherever he got to get on. I got to know in my heart, because I belong to God, I ain't got to know that now there's a shield around my son. Just saying it without knowing it is not enough. And saying it without believing it is not enough. But the Bible said if I trust in the Lord of God with all my heart, with all my mind, with all my soul, then I got a protection around him, just like it's me with my arms around him. Did you hear me? I believe more than ever before. If there's somebody right now that's sick, the Bible said that if we will pray the prayer of righteousness around them, they could be healed. Did you hear me? Would you help us get the church back where it belongs? The church is supposed to be a sanctuary where people will come in and have an awe of God, and that we don't sit around and play in the church, and we don't color, and we don't, play games in the church. This is not what's supposed to happen in the church. And when you mix that in the church, you destroy the power of the church. Oh, man, I had a message this morning. Lord, have mercy. I have a message this morning. But I'm here to tell you, if we don't bring the church back to why the church was created, we're going to have a big problem. People, we got to give our hearts, we got to give our minds, and we got to give our finances, because if you don't give the finances to the church won't be able to stay. It won't be able to make it. And then when the children grow up, if they don't get no God, what will they get? People don't believe in bringing their children to church anymore and being faithful. And always remember this, you can't teach your children something you don't have. And if you're not faithful to God, even the kids that you bringing and dealing with will not be faithful, because they will only follow what you're doing. If they see in you, and I don't know about you, but when I was in the world and I came to church, one day wasn't good enough for me, nor my children. I got up this morning, and when I got up, the little one back there, my granddaughter, she's only 5 years old, she wanted to come to church today with me. And so I get up and pick her up, and stops over there, get her little donut, something like that to eat. But she wanted to be here with me today, even though she knew she was going to be here all day with me. She knew she was going to be here all day. And they told her, you know you're going to be with Pop all day. Yeah. But we're going to church. I'm going to be with them. I want to say to you, you don't know how that makes you feel that your granddaughter, and they moving to Georgia. I'm getting ready to lose my baby. And you don't know what it's like to live in a world where you see all these things happening to children, and seeing our kids being destroyed because of legalization of marijuana and drugs all around, where they're not anymore, they're living in the same block where your kids is living, in the same area. My heart is broken when I see children at the age of 12 and 13 years old going to jail. Don't believe me? Just for one day, get up and go down and sit in a court, and you'll see nothing but young people in there, when at one time it used to be old people. And then this is the other killer. At one time it used to be all males, but now it's divided with females. Why? Because we're not doing our job. We're not doing our job. Our job is to protect. How old are you? 15. If they don't see us living for the Lord, if they don't see us serving the Lord, where they pick it up at? If we ain't going to church, where will they get it from? If they don't see us praying, where will they get it from? If they don't see us reading the Bible, where will they pick it up? If they don't see us fellowshipping with other Christians, where will they get it from? If they do not see our love that God placed in it, where are they going to get it from? If you don't show love, where will they get it from? If they don't see the Bible in the house, where will they get it from? If they don't hear you praying before you eat, where will they get it from? If they don't see you getting up every now and then in the house and saying, oh Lord, thank you for another day, where will they get it from? If they don't hear friends that you got that are saved, that are living for God, where will they choose friends like you got? Where will they get it from? We got to wake up before it's too late. If you don't give them a lot of God, they will not get any God. I only need one day a week of God. But you eat 6 days, 7 days a week. It's dangerous to think that you need more food than you need spiritual food. I've seen so many things since I've been pastoring. I've seen men who call themselves men of God. I was getting ready to talk this morning about 2 women of God in the Bible that just changed my life. Perhaps I'll do it tonight in Hamilton. I don't know. But I really feel it's time the church goes back to being a church, and we walk in the doors of the church with honor, with respect. Walk in and say, God, I come here. You go back and remember, man, a long time ago, even when you thought about the church, when you walked in, you don't never walk in, you don't see people coming in and carrying on conversations in the house of God because they came here to receive something. So you will see people coming in and they come down to the altar. And they used to kneel. And they talked to the Lord. And maybe all of it, maybe none of it was about themselves. Some of it was about their family, about their marriage, about their relationship. You know why God don't want people to come to church? Because he knows that the devil don't want you to come to church, because he knows that once you do, he loses power over you. See, he can't mess with you when you're in the house of God. So as soon as you come out, he'll bring up your past. He'll bring up something that you want to do that's got nothing of God, so he can slip right back on in. I want to challenge you today. How about making the whole Sunday a day belonging to God? Whew, it's hard. People don't believe in Sunday belonging to God anymore. That's why when you go around, you'll find out most of the churches, we one of the few churches now that still have 2 services on Sunday, because people don't want to come back on Sunday night. Wow. And then you get the pressure, why don't you get rid of your Sunday night service? I said, why don't you get rid of your lips? Say amen. Change the church. Go to another church. Because if we only have 5 people, we still going to have Sunday night. Come be with us tonight. We're going to be in the Hamilton. We're going to Hamilton tonight and not here. And I'm not really sure why I'm going there and why we're going to have service in the Hamilton church tonight. I'm not really sure yet. I just felt the Lord say, have church tonight, Sunday night in the Hamilton church. And that's what we're going to do. I'm not really sure. But I'm letting the Lord guide me, because there must be a great revival in America to change America. And there must be a great revival in our part of the vineyard where we live. Must be. Where the Holy Ghost begins to move and relationships begin to change. And our children, if you got a child out here and he's a male right now, and he's from the ages of 16 and up, drugs is running after him like never before. Immorality is running at him like never before. And sometimes we get our children that go to jail and they get locked up and they get drugs. And you need to ask yourself, how many times was I on my knees in the church saying, God, put a shield? Maybe none. Maybe one. But I realized one thing. I got to pray every day for mine. Would you stand with me? I guess we're not having church this morning. I don't know. But pray for your children. But pray for your children, but make sure your prayers is going to be heard of God, because you sold out. You sold out for God. We got so many excuses why we don't come to church faithfully, why we're not loyal to God. Oh, one of the biggest problems in the church today is loyalty. Folks don't have loyalty no more. We're not loyal. I remember when I worked on a job, I was never late. I was always there on my job. And I want to make sure I don't give God less than what I gave the world. God's been really, really good to me. And when I think about all the years that I've been pastoring, I can't ever remember myself, except when I had the surgeries, the 2 surgeries, ever being to the place where I was so sick that I couldn't come to church, or even with colds or whatever. I can't ever remember any of those times that kept me out of church. The only time that I ever remember being kept away is when I had surgery. And still, I had to fight, because they tried to make me say I need a certain amount of time, and I'm saying, no, I got to be in church. This was way before I even thought about becoming a preacher. Sometimes I said, man, God, I wish I wasn't a preacher no more, just in the church. It's a change. It's a difference. I want to say to you right now, if there's anybody in here right now, you have a nephew, a son, a niece, anybody that you right now know that's got problem in their life. Whether it's out there in the world, whatever it is. And say perhaps you know somebody right now that their marriage is struggling. You know, I see so many marriages struggling. I really, can I be honest with you? I'm just telling you the honest truth. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be married this long. I was not the marrying type. I never even wanted to get married. Never had a desire to get married in my whole life. Because I saw too much junk in marriages. I was never around anybody that had a really strong marriage. So I never really desired to be married. Until one day I walked in the church and got saved. Got saved. God said, okay, man, get married. Time to get married. Time to do this woman the right thing, the right way. So I decided, let me do it the right way. It was the best decision that I ever made in my life. Because then God opened up the door, and now there were people here. There was 2 of us praying for our children. And that's why I got my daughters in this church right now. I got my granddaughters in the church. Because you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And I suggest you start on your knees and saying, God, forgive me for every sin that I have ever committed knowingly and unknowingly. But God, put a burning inside me that you're going to be number one in my life. That when I wake up in the morning, you're going to be number one. Before I go to bed at night, you're going to be number one. I'm going to talk to you. And I'm going to give you more of my life than I give my job. We give our job 40 hours a week, and God rarely gets 2. How imbalanced is that? He really gets a couple hours a whole week, but on a job, we give a job 7 to 7.5 to 8 hours a day. And we wonder. Jesus is the answer for America. Jesus is the answer for America. America's in trouble, but Jesus is still the answer for America. I believe with all my heart that when Christians begin to get up and say, God, from now on, I'm going to make you number one in my life. Number one in my direction. Number one, when I wake up, I'm going to talk to you first. Before I go to sleep at night, I'm going to talk to you less. I'm going to pray and ask God to bind my family and my children together like never before. I'm going to pray and ask God to put a burning inside me that I will want him more than I will want anything else in this world. You see, food only lasts for a short time, but the glory and the power of God will last for eternity. And I believe that one day I'm going to hear him say, well done, my good and faithful servant, enter. I want to leave you with this. There is a real hell. There is a real hell. The Bible says it is. And there's a real heaven. I plan on fighting to get myself there, get my children there, get my grandchildren there, get my great-grandchildren there, get my friends there that I still know. I want you to know there's still somebody got their eyes on you. There's still somebody that watching what you do, watching how you live, watching whether or not you really believe like you say you believe. I really believe that in this hour, God is looking for us to make a way for somebody young like this. You see, the only way she gonna know, I know you got mama, I know. The only way you gonna make it is if she do the right thing. If she goes and look, if she goes and does the right thing for you, she got her mind and her eyes on this. You want to touch that because you know something coming out of that. Mama, do your job. Give your baby an example. From this moment on, I challenge you to sell out like never before, so that all the mistakes you made, mama, your baby won't make. All the mistakes and all the hurts that you had, you might stop your baby from being hurt. Sell out, mama. What you got to lose, but everything to gain. I want to challenge you right now. Married couples, do more things together. Sit down together more and talk to each other and love each other. For today might be a last day for somebody. Love your family like never before. Even if they don't love you the way you love them, you make sure that God comes out of you, even if it don't come out of you, because you can be the example in this hour. The church needs to come back and be the pillar. Would you bow your heads? If there's somebody right now, you need prayer for your family, for your relationship, for your children, I want you to come at the altar real quick. And we're going to ask God to touch your family, touch your children. I believe God is doing something fantastic in this hour, but somebody got to stand in the gap before the Lamb. Somebody got to stand in the gap before the Lamb. Right now. God is beginning to do something right now. If you know somebody, and this is what I want you to do also, pray for somebody that you know that used to go to church, that you don't see them there no more. Pray for your children. Pray for your marriage. Pray for your relationships. God, it's time to come back home. Come back to God. Come back to Jesus Christ. Come back and say, Jesus, I want my family saved. I want my children protected. This is our time. This is our time. This is our time. This is our time.